Enough is enough.
Outlined in an 8-page safety and violence resolution, Brooklyn Center Mayor Mike Elliott is asking for a complete revamp of the city's police department.
This resolution is the first step to a community-centered process that will ultimately remove police from traffic enforcement and create a new Department of Community Safety and Violence Prevention.
The resolution, named in the honor of Dante Wright and Kobe Heisler, 2 men who died at the hands of Brooklyn Center Police, would allow the city to implement an unarmed enforcement department to respond to low-level traffic violations and calls involving those suffering from mental illnesses.
The facts speak for themselves.
Which Heisler's mother agrees is needed.
I can promise you that if Brooklyn Center had something like that in place when the police were called to that house, that my son would be alive today.
In a recent KARE 11 investigation, statistics from the city of Minneapolis revealed the percentage of blacks stopped for equipment violations shot up from 54% in 2017 to 62% this year.
Black people also have this traumatic thing that happens where you don't know if you're going to live or die.
Which is why Brooklyn Center leaders are wanting to reimagine policing as we know it.
There's whole segments of the community that are afraid to call the police. They would not consider calling the police for help.
A call for help in an effort to keep everyone safe.
Brooklyn Center can do better, Brooklyn Center must do more, and Brooklyn Center is ready for change.
Devon Romming, KARE 11 News.
Now, that proposal still has a lot of details to be worked out. It must be passed by the city council, which just received it yesterday. The mayor said the council has 6 months to study it and then vote on it. Many council members told Devon they need more time to process the idea.